How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is wrapping up its summer sale here shortly, and I want to give you guys a heads up on some of the deals I would recommend you to pick up. We've been doing a lot of videos covering the stuff above the typical under 10 and under 5 threshold. Figure it would add a little bit of different titles than I typically mention. The under 5 and under 10 stuff generally stays the same, but, you know, when we talk about games 10 to 20, even above 20, you know, there's some other stuff to mention. I do like to say that when we look at these games, I highly recommend, if you're picking any of these up, to play them as soon as possible after buying them, because the floor of the deals has not been set yet. What I mean is, I'm going to mention Hi-Fi Rush as my first game. That game is on sale, the Deluxe Edition, for a little over $20. It could easily get cheaper than that, and probably will by, let's say, the fall of this year. So if you're gonna buy it and it's just gonna stick in backlog purgatory alongside 100 other games, that's not doing you any favors, and you should just wait for it to get cheaper. So just keep that in mind. I like to reiterate that because that's probably one of the most important pieces of advice I can give you as far as making sure you don't blow money unnecessarily. But with that being said, let's get right into it, and let's start things off with Hi-Fi Rush Deluxe Edition. Now, it's 40% off for $24. This will get you Hi-Fi Rush, 2 outfits for Chai, 5 bonus Chai t-shirts, an 808 themed guitar skin, 808 alternate skin, and gear starter pack. Nothing that necessary, but you know, if you want some in-game cosmetics and things of that nature, the Deluxe Edition for $24 I still think is a pretty good buy. Hi-Fi Rush was legit one of my favorite games of 2023. I think the game is just fantastic. Came out of nowhere, and I absolutely loved it, to the point where I legitimately thought that Chai and 808 were going to be a duo that was going to become a mascot tandem for Microsoft, in the sense that they were going to build the Xbox brand around Chai and 808, and the Chai and 808 eventually were going to get to the level of, you know, I'm not going to say Master Chief and Marcus and Dom, but I had high expectations for them. Guess what? I was wrong, because Tango Gameworks is no longer around, and they have been shut down. Just one of the most depressing studio closures, but give Hi-Fi Rush some love, because the game is absolutely awesome, and for this price point, I would highly recommend it. Next up, we got Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, 33% off for $26.79. Now, this is a classic trio of action games. It's kind of wild to say that these games are classic. Ninja Gaiden 3 came out in like 2012. It's not that old, but when you think about it, that's 12 years old. I think it kind of fits into the classic territory. All 3 games are solid action games, however, they do very much show their age, so that is something you have to be mindful of. Janky cameras with a lot of the games, I would say, with Sigma 1 especially, that was the element of the game that made me damn near break a controller, but overall, they're still worthwhile action games. $26.79 certainly is a more, as a pricier title, and not a deep discount, but you're getting 3 games here, and I think it's still worth a pickup. Next up, we got NieR Replicant, 60% off for $24. I actually finished the NieR Automata anime last night. Quite enjoyed it. The games are always going to be the best way to play NieR and experience the NieR narrative, but I thought the soundtrack was awesome. I thought the narrative was incredibly compelling, and overall, the game is really, really good. Visually, you know, it's an upgraded release of a PS3 game, so keep your expectations in line, but they upgraded it quite a bit, and still a very, very enjoyable JRPG to go through for $24. Speaking of enjoyable JRPGs, Ys Memories of Celceta Digital Deluxe Edition, 60% off for $15.99, while the if you're a Plus subscriber, you'll get it for $11.99. When you talk about Ys as an IP these days, it's all about Ys 8, it's all about Ys 9, and looking ahead to Ys 10 Nordics. However, Ys Memories of Celceta is also available on the PlayStation Store, and for $12, I don't think this is a bad pickup. Now, this is a port of a game that was released on the PlayStation Vita, and I believe the PlayStation Vita release was a remake of a game that never came stateside. Yeah, JRPGs sometimes are all over the place, and as we see more and more of these games get localized, you'll see remakes of games that never came stateside pretty regularly, like Live Alive as well. But Ys Memories of Celceta, while I wouldn't say it's as good as Ys 8 or Ys 9, it does show its age a little bit, and given that it was a Vita release, you know, keep your expectations in check there, but still a worthwhile game, and Ys is incredibly consistent as a franchise through and through, and the action gameplay is always going to be worthwhile. For $12, if you're a Plus subscriber, I think it's a great pickup. Next up, we got Assassin's Creed Syndicate Gold Edition, which is 70% off for $14.99. I always go to bat for Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I just think it's a criminally underrated game, a really well-done open-world action title, and I would just say definitely pick it up. You know, it came out the year after Assassin's Creed Unity, and Unity, while people look back at it with fond, you know, with fond things now, when it came out, it was a technical disaster, and also, by the time Assassin's Creed Syndicate came out, while I look back at Assassin's Creed, these Assassin's Creed games with a lot of fond memories, at the same time, they got milked to the nth degree and beyond. You're talking a yearly release cycle from 2009 to 2015, and ultimately, I think with Syndicate, there was a little bit of burnout with the Assassin's Creed IP, and couple that with the lackluster release of Unity, it was just a recipe for Syndicate to not do all too well. However, I still thought Syndicate was a really well-done game. The open world was fun to explore, you had a great cast of characters, and I would say, for $15 for the Gold Edition, a good pickup. You also get the Season Pass here, and some other in-game digital items. I think from that standpoint, it's a worthwhile pickup. Check it out. Next up, we got Sword and Fairy Together Forever Premium Edition, 60% off for $19.99. Now, this Premium Edition isn't anything too crazy. Modern-style outfits add-on, digital soundtrack, dynamic theme for PS4, and 4 avatars. The dynamic theme, unfortunately, cannot be used on PS5. Sword and Fairy Together Forever is actually Sword and Fairy 7. Played this on PC, and I was... right off the top, it's hard not to be blown away by the visuals. This game, from a technical standpoint, is one of those like hidden titles that visually just looks ridiculously good. Very colorful. Some translation issues in the gameplay I wouldn't say is revolutionary. However, if you like your action RPGs with pretty good narratives, Sword and Fairy Together Forever I think is a game you'll ultimately enjoy, and for $19.99 I think it's the perfect price point for it. Next up, we got Soul Hackers 2 Digital Deluxe Edition, which is 75% off for $17.49. Really good price for Soul Hackers 2, I think. Now, Soul Hackers 2 isn't a JRPG that everybody is crazy about. I think more people would say it's incredibly mid. I enjoyed it. Did it have its shortcomings? Absolutely. The dungeon design was incredibly questionable. You know, the story, while compelling in times, it does get pretty predictable. I would say the soundtrack is awesome. I would say the main character is awesome, and the cast of characters are great. You do get the story expansion, the story DLC. With the Digital Deluxe Edition, I would say that story DLC isn't the best thing in the world, let's just put it that way, but nevertheless, $17.49 for Soul Hackers 2, I think is a decent pickup, and I would say give it a shout if you're a JRPG fan. Next up, we got Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning Fate Edition, 75% off for $13.74. I think Kingdoms of Amalur is a really solid open-world action RPG, and what I liked about it is, this game came out in the midst of open-world games, you know, kind of getting more and more popular and becoming incredibly abundant in gaming. I didn't think it really hit its peak until 2014, 2015, where we just saw a billion of them, but while you're playing games like, you know, your Fallouts of the world and your Skyrims of the world, Kingdoms of Amalur brought with it this fast-paced action combat that is more reminiscent of an action-oriented game that I really appreciated. Does it work perfectly? Absolutely not. I wouldn't say it's at the level of your top-level action games, but I would say it's pretty good. Narratively, it's okay. This release does get you the Fatesworn expansion, so you know, you'll get a little bit more out of it. $13.74 I think is a pretty good buy, and it's one of those IPs that's gonna be forgotten about, and never got a sequel, actually defuncted the studio that released it, so it is what it is. Streets of Rage 4 is 50% off for $12.49. Streets of Rage 4 is an awesome throwback while also being a visual delight as far as modern beat-em-ups go. It does a good job of being nostalgic towards the audience that is appreciative of Streets of Rage and played them growing up, but also being accessible to a new audience. I think they found a healthy balance of them both. Visual style is great, presentation is great, sound design is great. Yeah, just a really solid action beat 'em up, and $11.24 with your Plus subscription, a really solid pickup, so definitely would give that a look. Next up, we got Eternights, 60% off for $11.99. This is a game that absolutely is not for everyone. However, if you like your cheesy, your corny anime, you will enjoy Eternights. It's a dungeon crawling action RPG crossed with a dating sim. It is very, very zany. It saw some comparisons to Persona. Guys, I think those comparisons, while I get that it has Persona-like elements with the relationship building, like Persona is one of the greatest video game franchises of our generation. We are setting Eternights up for disappointment by comparing it to Persona. It is a a cheesy action RPG with some, you know, corny relationship building, but that's kind of the charm of it. I feel like that's the charm with like Sakura Wars as well, that you kind of have to appreciate it for the corniness and its attempt at being so cheesy that you almost find it endearing in some regards. And that's for me. I can find it endearing. Some of you guys are gonna be like, this is the corniest thing ever, and it is not gonna be for you. But for $11.99, you know what you're getting yourself into, and I think you can have a good time. I also think this game does a good job of not overstaying its welcome. It gets in, tells you that 12 to 15 hour story, and then it gets out. This game can absolutely overstay its welcome if it was longer than that. And I thought they did a good job of getting to the point. Next up, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 Cross-Gen Deluxe Bundle. This was available as a Plus title not too long ago. I mean, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 are classics. I would say that they are games that people are incredibly nostalgic towards, and getting a ground-up remake of them, that's obviously going to be really well received as long as it's done well. And guess what? It's done well here, so $19.99 for that. Pretty good. A Sifu, 60% off for $15.99. Really enjoyed Sifu, even though as an action title, it is incredibly challenging, incredibly, I don't want to say irritating at times, but it's definitely got that get good kid type of mentality to it, and damn near made me break a controller. Let's just put that in the damn near made me break a controller category. But it's a rewarding game, art style's great, and for $15.99, I think it's a pretty good pickup. Resident Evil Village Gold Edition is 60% off for $19.99. Now, truth be told, at this point, 3 years removed from RE Village, I would like to see this a little bit cheaper, but what can you do? It's a fantastic survival horror action title. I'm not crazy about Resident Evil. Like, I do really enjoy Resident Evil, and especially my fandom has increased since the recent remakes. RE4 remake was tremendous. But, you know, I'm not like a fan that's been playing every Resident Evil since the PS1 days or something like that. But Village is a great game. I do recommend you to play Biohazard Resident Evil 7. But yeah, Village is great, and really curious where Capcom is going to go with Resident Evil going forward. I think there's a lot of potential in the franchise. Lastly, Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, 60% off for $15.99. Just a great action title, great soundtrack. Devil Trigger is one of the goated soundtracks, or rather songs, for an action game, and I know that's a very generic statement, but it's awesome. I'm not crazy about DMC from a narrative standpoint, but what DMC shines for me through with DMC 5 is the action gameplay. I thought it was absolutely satisfying to go through, and for $16, pretty good deal. You got the DLC baked into the special edition as well. Looks and runs great on the PS5 on top of that. But that is going to do it for me. Again, a lot of great PlayStation game deals available as part of the summer sale. A lot of good stuff all around. These games a little bit more expensive, so keep that in mind. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.